Hey folks, welcome back to On Texas Football and welcome back here to another Sunday night live stream. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by the Estimo. You see him right there. He's always got some bit he's working. He's committed to the bit. It's the one and only Jerry Hamilton. Also, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Bobby Burton joining us as well. Jerry, what's the bit today? What you got going on?
This is the only time we're going to talk about Connor Wiegman this week, unless Marcell Reed gets hurt. So he was on the cover. He was on the cover, but he's not going to play in the game.
Hey man, we've all been there. We've all made some grand prognostications and been dead wrong before. All right, it happens.
hey, it could be Quinn might be out too. We don't know how serious his ankle injury is yet, right?
Yeah, redo the cover. Can we get Arch and Marcel together and like Waco Thursday or something?
Yeah, that's actually a big topic of conversation, of course, that we'll get to. I know a lot of Longhorn fans out there. They want to know. Thank you, all you guys, for joining us, number one. But they want to know what's up with Quinn and what's going on with Quinn. So we'll discuss that a little bit too. Of course, it is Texas A&M week. So been a long time since we can talk about Texas A&M in rekindling that rivalry in a rivalry game. So we'll discuss that, of course, and we'll review the game, of course, this past weekend and talk about Texas, Kentucky just a little bit if you guys want to get into that. All of your questions or comments, that is the top, obviously the top priority for us. So whatever you want to talk about, throw it out there. Super chats jump to the front of the line. They can interrupt the show at any time. We'll also discuss the implications of that Texas A&M game. The winner of that game gets a spot in the SEC title game. We know that as well. So we'll talk about that as well as a lot of other different topics all across the college football landscape. A lot of movement this past weekend among some of those top teams that we expected to be in the college football playoff discussion. That may not be the case for them. So we'll get into all of it, of course. Thank you guys for joining us no matter where you're from. All right, gentlemen, let's dive right into it. I'm sure you guys got a chance to rewatch the game, process the game, digest everything. I'll throw it to you first, Bobby. What are your thoughts after 48 hours removed from the game?
Yeah, I think that I didn't look. Quinn got hurt when the game was 7-7. I don't know if a lot of people realize that. He didn't show he was hurt really until the second half, right?
Yeah.
People were talking about, he went to the tent, et cetera, in the first half. But the injury actually occurred when the ball game was 7-7. And Quinn was effective throwing the ball into the end of the half, in my opinion. But something I noticed on second watch, Rod, his feet got more quiet in almost a good way. You know how Jerry always talks about, hey, he needs to be hopping on his feet, ready to move, that sort of thing. It's almost like the injury quieted his feet and quieted his pocket presence a little bit. Too much in the second half, but the right amount at the end of the first half, in my opinion. At one time, he hit 7 passes in a row, and they weren't all easy passes. I felt like it slowed him down when he started compensating for that. I think a little bit. It was interesting, but all together, I think that it was a dominating win by Texas. Could have been bigger. I think that maybe the biggest question mark I have coming out of this for you, Rod, since you're a defensive back guy, I don't know if blown coverages is the right word, but for a passing offense that is not very good in Kentucky, it looked like Texas had some miscommunication and some problems in the secondary on Saturday. An inordinate amount, I don't know, but more than they usually have. That may be my biggest negative from that game. The secondary getting beat a few times. I think we're caught with their eyes in the backfield a lot, but that's another story.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. They've allowed 21 20-plus yard pass plays on the season. 5 of them came in that game versus Kentucky.
Kentucky had more explosive plays than Texas in that game.
Yeah. No, they had more explosive pass plays against Texas secondary, the number 1 pass defense in the country, than any other team that Texas played. It was. So I agree with you, Bobby. In that regard, it was very strange. It's like, they had 2 40-plus yard bombs. How did they have 2 40-plus yard pass plays in that game versus Texas? So what's strange? A lot of those are outside. Once the quarterback works outside the pocket, right? Scramble drill. but then some of those deep, long kind of crossers, those deep over routes. We've seen a couple of those the last couple of weeks, actually, because Florida had one like that. Arkansas had one. And then Kentucky had one. They end up, sometimes they start from the other side of the formation, end up being either a post or a deep over route, and the quarterback either has enough time or breaks contain, and then he's able to find that guy downfield. That was a couple of them, but you're right. Eyes in the backfield. Janae Barron. I mean, that guy's your best player in this secondary, your best player arguably on defense, and they got him with his eyes in the backfield too. So it was one of those games, and maybe that was a distraction of senior night, farewell night. Maybe the guys were all trying to look to make some plays in the backfield. Defense still played really well, but you're right. Uncharacteristically, there were some open guys in the secondary.
Hey, Bobby, Rod and I talked about on second watch. It may be a little bit of a blessing in disguise before you play Marcel Reed.
I would agree with that.
I mean, it's one of those things. You won a game comfortably, and you get coaching points. And it happened right before you play a guy in Marcel Reed, who's going to be a play extender. And if you get drifty with your eyes, he can throw it well enough to beat you. So, but I was looking at defensive stats earlier today. How about this? Texas is up to 33 sacks on the season, 17 interceptions, and 11 forced fumbles. I mean, those are monster numbers to put together. On a defensive unit, monster numbers to put together. I mean, your sack guys now, Anthony Hill has 7.5, Colin Simmons 7, Barron Sorrell 4.5. I mean, the guys are starting to get up to, especially Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons are starting to get up to some of those big numbers. When you start getting up to that 9 to 10 range number in sacks, and you have multiple guys on the team that do it, you have become a really good pass rushing team. And Rod pointed this out today. They blitzed more against the Kentucky than they have majority of the season. So they may be finding a lot. Now, Kentucky's offensive line was not good in pass pro, and that Texas also won on first downs on defense. But I think Texas is now kind of I think they have such great continuity communication within their staff and on their defense that now they get to start dialing it up some as well.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. That can be, especially a young quarterback. I think that was part of it too. A young quarterback they were going up against who was thrown in there. They were trying to speed up his process a little bit, but there's no doubt I'm seeing a little bit more pressure from the secondary, some of those blitzes than we've seen earlier in the season. All right, I know.
Rod, hey, Rod, that quarterback's up to pressure now.
He's a good player.
You need to pinch him in. He's got a quick ticker. I mean, he thinks pretty quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to say one more thing for Jerry and his talk about Simmons and Hill having 7 sacks apiece. Jerry needs to take a bow. He took the over under this year. He took the over on Colin Simmons in 6 sacks, by the way. So Jerry gets the nod. He gets a few games early here with Colin Simmons. Didn't you have 6.5 was the over?
Somebody asked 6.5. I think 6.5. I took the over. The crazy thing about Colin Simmons was he was actually really injured his senior season. He had a high ankle sprain. So people that just watched in the playoffs he didn't compete in the Under Armour game because he was going to, but the trainer at the Under Armour game was like, shut him down. They're like, no, he doesn't need to go, man, because he played with it in the playoffs. And that's why some people had him grossly underranked at the end of this class after these kids signed. I mean, I don't want to throw shade on it, but it was ridiculous. It's almost like they forgot what he was as a junior before he had a high ankle sprain midway through his senior year. Oh, well, he didn't have the same production. Okay, well, he couldn't. I mean, it wasn't possible. He had a bad high ankle sprain, so he got dropped in rankings by some people. And I laughed about it at the time, but he has a BGO that's otherworldly. You're muted, Rod.
Sorry, Colin Simmons with the BGO. Yeah, his BGO is. Yeah, I agree with you. I haven't seen anything like it at Texas. I don't know if even time I played or after. Have we seen anybody's BGO that's as good as Colin Simmons?
No.
You guys
close was Tony Bracken's, and it's not as good.
There you go. I didn't get a chance to see T Brack like that, but I've heard he was a freak, like no question.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some of the super chats here. Thank you guys, we appreciate it. Juan, first up, thank you, Juan, for the super chat. He says, Jerry, buy or sell. Texas has a top 3 class.
No, I'm buying. Texas is already up to 4 in the class rankings within Batu. So here's the reality: is you hold on to everybody you got, and things are looking better. But Florida's they're going to fight on Myron Charles until December 4th. And this is a through the whistle recruitment now. And I think Texas feels good about it. But they also know that Florida's got a little mo, and they're not going to give up on this one. I think Jamie French is really solid with Texas. So if you have everybody in this class, if everybody stays committed that's in it now, you're ranked 4. If you add, let's just say Texas ends up winning out for Michael Terry, you're going to jump to 2. Then from there, I mean, look, there's Kellen Wiley, who I'm not sure how much he'd affect class rankings. That's going to be a Texas-Florida battle as well. You have Javion Hilson, which I think is still going to come down to Texas. Texas A&M, Michigan's probably going to make a big NIL play there. So maybe I'm wrong, but he's never been a threat to go north in his recruitment, but NIL can change the game there. Then you have defensive line guys that Texas is still in on, Justice Terry, then Nathaniel Marshall, who just visited from Auburn. Look, and I can't tell you for sure what's going to happen. I'm buying the number 3 class. And Texas has a shot at the number 1 class, depending on how Georgia closes. If Texas closes well and signs 28 guys, just the guys on the board, going to give them a shot to finish 1 if they hit on a couple of them.
Nice.
And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that's the reality right now of where this recruiting is for Texas.
Yeah. No, that's especially if they finish strong and how they finish the season strong. They can finish that class strong as well. Catch the Wave X. Thank you for the super chat. Here says, do you guys think A&M was literally looking ahead? We did have the Mike Elko Freudian slip last week when he's supposed to be talking about Auburn, but then end up slipping up and saying that we're focused on Texas. What do you think, Bobby? They were looking ahead?
Oh, I think Texas started looking ahead in the third quarter to A&M itself on Saturday. That's kind of what I thought happened to the Longhorns. I can't help but think that A&M has been somewhat focused on Texas from the bye week into the New Mexico State game. They certainly worked on Auburn. I'm not trying to say that, but I think there's an element of that for Texas too against Kentucky. So yes, Sark just didn't say anything. I think it was a slip of the tongue from Mike Elko, and when that happens, I mean, look, it's unfortunate for them, but it's also just desserts. They played up this game to be so big in their minds for Texas getting into the SEC when they thought they were the only ones in the state of Texas that could be in the SEC. All that other stuff. I mean, maybe. I thought Auburn did a great job trolling A&M after the game.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
They put it, how Texas did it with Brett Yormark? Everything runs through Lubbock last year against Texas Tech in Austin. Auburn did that against A&M and played it on the Jumbotron.
On the Tron after the game.
On the Jumbotron after the game. So I don't know if Mike Elko heard that, but I'm sure he saw it.
Hey, but we talked about this heading into the A&M game with Auburn. Auburn has not been blown out. They are not as bad a team talent-wise as 4-6. They're more talented than that. They just lost games in about every way you could and at home. And I was like, are they really going to go defeated at home? Are they going to go over in the SEC play at home? I mean, Auburn they've had a lot of issues closing out games. The pick six against OU. The Arkansas game was a disaster offensively late. But they're not 4-6 talent-wise. And that was jargon. Their running back's going to play 8-10 years in the NFL if he stays healthy. I mean, the Cam Coleman, the freshman receiver, he talked about it because Auburn had been a disaster on offense. He wasn't getting mentioned with Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams and Ryan Wingo. But he's the 4th guy. He was a 5-star kid coming out. Auburn's got players. They just stunk up the joint at the worst times. They're a better team than 4-6. And it showed.
It did show. That's for damn sure. Right about that. Carrie, thank you for Brandon says Nick Saban said that place is haunted.
That was funny.
felt like that for the Aggies, definitely, as you started going into overtime, all them overtimes. And aren't the Aggies ultimately the reason we got that overtime rule anyway, because of that 7 overtime game that they had? Was it LSU? They went to 7 overtimes with whatever it was. Anyway, getting back to it, Kerry, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it very much. Horns up, thumbs down. Time, play your best when the most is on the line. Yeah, you're right about that. Hook 'em. No right about it. We appreciate that, Kerry. You're right. This is it for the Longhorns, man. This is the big game. And I would say, I mean, you could make the argument it's the biggest Texas A&M game in history. But second biggest, or is in the top 3, it's definitely got a lot on the line considering the SEC title implications.
Hey, I want to ask you about this. I want to ask you guys this, Rod and Bobby. With Ole Miss and Alabama losing, and I still think Indiana will be in the top 12 of the college football playoff, but with Ole Miss and Alabama losing, does it take pressure off Texas a little bit? Now, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, you're fine with a loss, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that, but it takes some pressure off because I do think Texas is in the playoffs, win or lose, now Saturday. The way things are breaking, and Notre Dame still has to beat USC on the road. So it takes a little pressure off, in my opinion. It's not the way kids are going to necessarily look at it, but it's the reality of the situation now.
It's Texas is in.
Yeah.
It would have to be something really weird or odd to happen. But win or lose against A&M, Texas is officially in. That happened when Alabama and Ole Miss, committed Harry Carey or whatever you want to call it on themselves. Basically, they imploded. I look, the Florida game I could kind of see happening as they got some much needed mojo going the previous week against LSU and started feeling it. Lagway was back. The running game got going. Their defense played better. You could kind of see them giving Ole Miss a game. You thought Ole Miss would eventually win. The one that came out of nowhere for me was OU over Alabama.
That was
I did not expect that. Brent Venables had Jalen Milroe's number last night. That's for darn sure. And tell me that doesn't change Jalen Milroe's NFL draft stock. I mean, did Brent Venables just basically is Jalen Milroe Jalen Hurts part 2, but Jalen Hurts may even be a better passer? Or more careful. Jalen Hurts is definitely more careful with the ball than Jalen Milroe ever has been.
Yeah. It was a bad day for expected quarterbacks to be in go high in the draft stock Saturday. That's for sure.
It's been a bad year.
Been a bad year, Rod. Great point.
It's been a bad year for all the quarterback draft stocks. Shedur's the only one, and even Shedur's stock hadn't necessarily skyrocketed, but his hasn't plummeted as much as a Beck, a Ewers, even. Sorry, that's the truth of it. And some of those guys. So I just think it's been a bad year for quarterback draft stock overall.
Rod, I don't know if you saw the end of the Ole Miss Florida game, but Jackson Dart had one of the worst quarterback meltdowns to end the game I've ever seen in my years doing this or following college football.
I saw it. Watched it. Yeah, it was hard. It was cringeworthy.
Yeah,
I mean, he was on the sideline in tears because he didn't know what was going on. Nobody could figure it out. I'm with you. It was.
And how crazy was that play? He was on the sidelines in tears. The interception gets overturned. He's got to dry his tears and goes back out there and does it again.
It does it again. No,
didn't even have time to dry his tears.
It was a bad Groundhog Day scenario for him. I felt bad for him. I really did. All right, getting back to the super chats here. Jordan, Jordan, thank you very much for the super chat. Says 22-year-old lifelong Longhorn fan living in College Station. Listen to you guys for years. We got to win this game. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Jordan. Behind enemy lines there. We appreciate you. Yeah, no question. It is going to be a crazy atmosphere. I would say the Longhorns have not seen an atmosphere like this, though, a road environment like they're going to see. What's the closest thing they've seen like it? Is it Arkansas in 2021? What's the closest thing?
For Sark, an away game, obviously the Cotton Bowl is a different animal, right?
It is a different animal. It's not true road, so it's weird. It's unique, but it's different.
Yeah, I think this. Arkansas is the only one that would have compared, in my opinion. I mean, maybe Bryant Denny last year.
Okay, there you go.
It was at night. It was in Alabama or in Tuscaloosa.
That's good.
But I don't know. I mean, I've got to say this. I mean, even though Saban had a great record there, that stadium felt great and all. It didn't feel like an intimidating place to play other than the athletes they put on the field.
Right.
I got you.
A&M can actually be a little intimidating with that whole seesaw crap that makes you
Oh,
kind of
man. Yes.
makes me want to vomit. Yeah. So, I mean, I've filmed the game up on top of that stadium back at Old Kyle Field before they imploded it. And I remember just sitting there, I'm sitting there filming, and then they start doing that thing. And I'm starting to get woozy as I'm on a photo deck exposed. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't need to be woozy in this, you know.
I think I'm going to go start national recruiting advisor now.
Yeah, that was not a win for me. Not a win for me.
No, I remember on the field, it looked like the stands are moving. It looks like the stadium is rocking. It would look like that. So it's going to be a wild, and it's going to be a wild environment. And we know the Aggies. This is the Super Bowl for them. They've been waiting on this one. All right, let's get to Major's super chat. Thank you, Major. We appreciate it. Says hook them till the wheels fall off, and when they do, hook them again. You damn right, Major. Appreciate that, brother. God bless you, Major. Damn right. Thank you for the super chat there. Juan's got another one. He says, we were talking about Texas offense versus Texas A&M defense. How do you think the Texas defense will do against the Texas A&M offense? It's kind of what Jerry was talking about, that you think it was a blessing in disguise that Kentucky, a running team, was able to get some guys loose in the Texas secondary, use some of those, I guess if you look at the quarterback scramble drill, some of those plays rolling the pocket to get some guys open. That may work well for Texas. This is why I wanted Texas to play against Lagway. I was confident Texas would beat Florida. I probably was too overconfident, so I didn't feel like that would be a true threat, but I thought the Lagway presence would be a hell of a test that Texas needed to help them down the line. All right. Thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, I think that hopefully it is exactly what you and Jerry talked about, and it's a blessing in disguise. I wrote down a couple of names that I thought had problems in pass defense yesterday, Rod. Leonga Lafau let the tight end get behind him twice he was open. And I thought Jelani McDonald let somebody go to the outside third when he was supposed to have it one time on one of those deep balls. But I don't know. Those are both younger players, right? So we'll see exactly all that means. And I can tell you this much: if A&M sees it on tape and they can replicate it, they're going to try. So,
and their tight end is a good young player now.
Oh wow, this is great. Just read that, Rod.
Is that true?
Wow.
Is that true?
That can't be. No way. It's not true. That'd be awesome if they could have them on the sideline, both of them.
Just announced UT's honorary team captains for the A&M game will be Justin Tucker and Jim Schlossnagle.
I love them both to be on the sideline. That'd be awesome. And you know what? Put in Case McCoy on the sideline too. Just give them all types of nightmares. You should bring in everybody that was an Aggie killer back in the day and just bring them on the sideline. Who all was great against the Aggies? Bring those dudes back. That'd be great. I love that.
Major Apple was pretty good against them.
Yeah, hey, I was on the sideline for that last game too, man. I was on the sideline doing the sideline for that Just Tucker. That was legit, man. That was a special moment. I got chills when it happened. All right, how about this one from John? Thank you, John, for the super chat. Guys, I have to be totally honest. I'll live our Longhorns. Said I'll live our Longhorns, but if Quinn doesn't play well, we will lose. Sark will not put Arch in the game. What do you guys think? Will Sark be ready to make the move with Arch if Quinn shows any type of lingering effects from that injury in the Texas A&M game on the road? Or will he stick with this guy? He definitely stuck with this guy in the Kentucky game. I mean, Quinn could barely move.
That's a tough environment to do that. I'll say that. I mean, it's kind of like when the Sark had to bring Arch into the game against Georgia when those guys were feeling it. And you kind of like, okay, we got to throw him out here to the wolves right now because I'm forced to make a change. it would be something similar to A&M. And if he's forced to make a change, or unless Quinn goes down, but if he's forced to make a change in that game, that means things aren't going well. And so you're bringing him in when it's rowdy and crazy.
I do think that Sark will have a plan for Quinn based on the uncertainty around a plan for Arch, excuse me. He'll have a plan for Arch in case Quinn can't go and or is limited. But I also think that you don't have to play Quinn this Saturday. Before you would have thought you would have to if you wanted to win, right? And try to make him go and see if he could actually do something, because he does give you a better shot to win a football game than Arch Manning right now, if he's fully healthy. Okay, so now I'll just say this, with Texas being in the college football playoffs, in my opinion, regardless of the outcome of this game, I mean, you got a business decision a little bit if you're Sark. Do you hold him out and wait for the playoffs or the SEC championship game if you happen to win the game somehow against A&M? Or, because, I mean, Quinn will get 3 weeks. You know, if I think, what's the first playoff game? The December 20th? Is that right, guys?
Yeah.
I can't remember the dates. So we'll see, I guess is the best way to put it. We'll see.
All right. Thank you for the super chat, John. Before we move on, let's thank our sponsor for the night, our good friends over at Rogue Shop. We appreciate them and their support of our own Texas football. Rogue Shop, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. Rogue Shop ships nationwide. Make sure you use the promo code on Texas for a very special discount. The Rogue Shop has it all, from oils and creams to flour and gummies. Again, that's rogueshop.com. Use the code on Texas and you'll get a very special discount from our friends over at rogueshop.com. Remember, check it out, rogueshop.com, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. They got it all, from oils and flour and creams and gummies. Go check out all of their great products at rogueshop.com. And thank you very much for sponsoring our Sunday live stream. Major's got another one here. Says everyone has copies Texas defense against the running quarterbacks. Check the film, it doesn't lie. You could be right about that. Texas has done really well against mobile quarterbacks, actually. Even going back to Jalen Milroe, versus Alabama. They've done really well versus quarterbacks that want to move around. I'm trying to think the last rushing quarterback that gashed a PK defense here at Texas. And it had to be Dylan Gabriel. And he wasn't even really that was the whole point. He wasn't really considered a dual threat quarterback. That was how they broke tendency, because it was the most rushing yards, rushing attempts I believe he had in his career. So he broke tendency. But that's the last time I can remember a running quarterback gashed him. Penix, they did good too with Penix, with the quarterback draws with Penix a little bit, and they ran a little bit. But I don't know if anybody has done a lot of design runs to gash Texas in the quarterback run game. Gabriel's the last one I can remember. What do you guys?
They're going to see it with Marcel Reed, though.
By the way, he was limping last night too.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, good point, Jerry. He was limping.
He was limp, and those guys played about 100. They played about 95 snaps, I think, on offense and defense last night, or in the mid 80s at least. They played a lot. It'll be interesting. Scooby Williams, one of their top linebackers,
He came back in the game. He came back
in after he rolled up his own knee.
Yeah, he came back in the game, Jerry. I heard you say that yesterday. I didn't mention it at the time, but he actually came back in the game. Hey guys, this one is hilarious because this is somewhat reminiscent. AJXOXO. Hey, you old guys, that's me. Remember when James Brown played on one leg? He had an ankle sprain in the last ever Southwest Conference game against the Aggies, and the Horns won 16-6, winning the final Southwest Conference. That happened actually in College Station too, by the way, Rod and Jerry. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but Bryant Westbrook put a hit on Leland McElroy that is still played at some Texas, highlight reels, 25, 30 years later.
Was it like a swing pass?
Oh, it was a pass in the flat, and Bryant Westbrook.
Yep.
Literally just, I mean, you could have heard the whole that was, 85 or 90,000 at the time in Kyle Field.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The whole place went quiet for like 3 seconds. It was a smack, and then everybody was like, "Wait a minute, is he going to get up?"
Okay. Yeah.
McElroy was their best offensive player.
Yeah, I remember leaving McElroy. Yeah, remember that.
He was fast, dude. Fast.
Yeah, but he wasn't fast enough to escape that hit.
No.
Oh man, yeah. I remember. I can see it. Just I knew it was in the flat. So it was like a swing pass or out the flat, but check down. Ooh, that was a nasty.
It was a check down. It was a check down.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for the question. Another super chat here. Justin says, "How about this one?" Thank you, Justin, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Auburn ran it down A&M's throat. We will be able to keep the run game going versus A&M if we can. That and the play action pass will be crucial. Thoughts, Justin? There's no doubt. Thank you for the super chat. Our running game. The hope is that it looked like it matured on Saturday. Texas run game looked like there was some growth and some maturity in the run game. And Kentucky is not a pushover defense. It's one of the better defensive fronts in the SEC. And guys, when everybody in the stadium, everybody watching on TV, including then Kentucky as well, the opposing team, everybody knows that you're going to run the football and knows your quarterback is ineffective out there as a passer. And yet you're still able to run it 15 straight times and impose your will. I would say that's maturity in the running game. Will it translate on the road at A&M versus an even better defensive front? That is the question, but I think Justin has faith that it will.
Yeah, he does. I wouldn't say Auburn ran it down A&M's throat, though. I mean, Jarquez Hunter had 28 carries for 130, 4.5 a pop. So it's not like they were chunk yardaging them. He's an NFL back, by the way. He's an 8 to 10 year pro. So I wouldn't say they ran it down their throat because that was Auburn at home, but they ran it effectively enough.
And they got a dual threat, right? They got another +1.
I think the other piece on that was they were really successful running it inside the tackle box.
Yeah.
That was what was surprising to me. I thought A&M would have a little more that and off the right side. Jerry, is where they had the most luck on Saturday night. I will say this as it relates to the Texas run game. I went back and obviously rewatched the game today, and I don't know if Jake Majors is going to win
Remington. Yeah,
that's one of the worst holes.
I don't know if he's going to. Okay. Because I don't know. I mean, there may be the world's greatest center out there, and we haven't seen. I mean, he may play for like Southern Alaska State or something, and I just don't know, right? That was Remington worthy. Those final 15 plays for Jake Majors. If I'm grading that film, Jake Majors, Hayden Connor, Kelvin Banks, I don't think they missed that whole. I mean, nothing. They pinned, they pulled, they got out, they got the second level. I mean, nothing, Rod, Jerry, nothing. DJ Campbell had a couple of blocks again, where he's just so athletic to be such a round human being. You know what I mean? Like Rod's laughing because he knows what I'm talking about. It's like, Charles Barkley is athletic as crap, but he's built like a DJ Campbell has that squatty body kind of. Now he's not short, but it's a little squatty.
He doesn't have the longest arms. Yeah,
but he's so athletic,
and he's got bad intentions.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's that goes. But my point is, they were just man. Go back and watch if you get a chance to watch every play. I watched every single play twice. And Jake Majors, guys, he's gonna. I bet he has 10-year NFL career. And 4 years ago, there's no way in hell I would have said that. No way. I mean, not a chance. I would have said that. But how hard he's worked. I mean, just line calls. Anyways, I shouldn't have. I'm sorry to take over the chat or take over the discussion.
It's good.
But, when I'm thinking about Texas running the ball against A&M, I'm thinking about those 5 guys up front, not necessarily anything else, because they were Sark dialed it up.
You did.
Let's just,
There's variety in that run game. Yeah. Different looks, change ups. Yeah.
He dialed it up. That was hard. That was a hell of a drive, man. Hell of a drive. I think it's like I said, that was two in a row for us. Arkansas did the same thing, guys. Moved it down the field when we had to.
Mr. Samuel has a great one. What about the bull rush Moore did on the right tackle for Kentucky? Right tackles have it tough against Texas right now. Because Trey Moore will get you in a couple of ways, and then Colin Simmons comes into the game after you're already tied, and you're like, holy hell.
Oh, no, Colin Simmons comes in the game, and here's the pass set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just goes, whoa. It's by you.
Every time.
I was a little concerned about the pass rush when they just brought 4. They didn't get much push. Like Alfred Collins did not do much in this game on the interior against Kentucky from a pass rush setting. Everything came from the outside. Maybe Vernon Broughton got 1 on the interior, but that would be the only thing I could tell you that I'm a little concerned with when you look at an A&M team. If you're not getting some upfield pressure against a smaller quarterback like Marcel Reed is, and he doesn't have to look over everything, that gave me a little bit of pause for concern. Even though they had 6 sacks, all of them except for 1 came from the outside.
That's a good point. Good point there, Bobby. Another super chat here. Isabelli Lyrics, appreciate that. Buy or sell. Everything clicks for Texas on Saturday, and we dominate A&M. Hashtag hook 'em. Dominate. Ooh, what did you
I'll buy it. I'll buy it. How much you want me to pay? I'm willing to buy it. I don't know. I don't.
There's a lot. Dominate, win, yes. Dominate. Can we go down there with that environment, your quarterback status, or at least the injury? We're a little uncertain about that. I don't know about that.
It could happen, but I very seriously doubt it. It would have to be some lingering effects that A&M's showing after losing the game the way they did last night. You know what I mean? Some still aftershocks, because
it was a 2-3 overtime game. They will be worn out from it.
4 overtime, and Colin Klein made a hell of a play call in the 4th overtime, Rod. I don't know if you didn't see it.
Yeah,
he moved Terry Bussey into the
wild. The drop pass. I saw it. Yep.
Yeah. Great play. Marcel Reed put it on his face mask, and I think it hit his face mask.
Yeah, it
did. It kind of went through there and popped, and the player that dropped it is just I would want him on my team. Amari Daniels, the running back for A&M. He's been their backup to either Le'Veon Moss and or Reuben Owens. I'll just be honest. I would want that guy on my team, just like I'd want Trey Wisner on my team.
Oh wow!
That kind of hard nose, run through, do whatever he can. He'd play special teams for you if you wanted him to. Anything. So I felt bad for that kid individually, but obviously I was. I didn't mind seeing A&M lose. I'll just put it that way.
By the way, and Amari Daniels, I've still never seen a running back from Florida that wasn't a physical player, no matter the size.
Yeah. Fair enough.
That's a good point. Jeff throws out this super chat. He says the powerhouses Tennessee and Miami will make the playoffs. I'm tired of seeing that crappy pony package. Just kidding. He just thought, hey Jeff, trust me, I wasn't throwing it out there. Stark's the one that's using more of the pony. I don't know why he's using more of it, but they used more of that pony in that game versus Kentucky, and they've used all season long. So he's trying
to get to 10 fumbles instead of just 6.
Exactly. No, really. I would actually, guys know I'm the biggest advocate of the pony package. I totally would understand if Sark wanted to, move away from it. You got injuries at running back. You got the running backs can't hold on to the football. You don't want to put too many out there to expose them because you only got three running backs that you actually have confidence in right now. And yet this dude is playing more pony package than he's ever played. So I wish he'd have played this much pony pack when he had Bijan and Rojo, but it's okay. Better late than never. It's all good. So I'm glad he's adding some variety to the offense.
Hey, Rob, what did you think? What did you think of that 4th down call, 4th and 1? They'd been running the fullback lead to Jarrett Gibson, and he popped Jaden Blue off the left side on that 4th and 1.
Nice change of pace on it. Yeah,
you got to give him different looks. Got to give him different looks.
And that was when he runs like the triangle, right? He runs like the 31 personnel. Yeah. I like that look. I like, I like when Sark throws out the extra backs on the field, the multi-back sets. That's pretty cool. All right.
Can I comment on that first part of that super chat? We saw what happened in college football last weekend. Miami's at Syracuse. Syracuse is not a bad football team. And Tennessee's at Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt's not a bad football team. And Notre Dame's at USC. And USC, I don't know if they're a bad football team or not, but they're gonna give it their go on that game. But there's some Texas on the road against A&M. But Texas, even if they lose in the playoffs, if Notre Dame loses, they're out. If Tennessee were to lose at Vanderbilt, it gets super chaotic in the SEC. And if Miami loses, they're out, I think.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to replace Notre Dame. They're not going to go to a 3-loss SEC team.
They keep Indiana in if they were thinking about
taking. Indiana's going to be in no matter what. There'll be four Big Ten teams. Okay, 4 Big Ten, 4 SEC. That's 8. Yep. 1 ACC, 1 SEC, or 1 Big 12, 1 Fresno State or Boise State, excuse me.
Yeah,
and Notre Dame. That's 12.
Well, I'll tell you the game that's caught my attention now. That I think if we're an upset away, another upset away from this being a play-in game, is South Carolina and Clemson. And people are going to be like, oh, well, no, South Carolina lost to Ole Miss and Alabama. Doesn't matter. If they beat Clemson, because Clemson and South Carolina are going to be like 13-14 or 12-14 or 13-15 in the new college football playoff rankings released on Tuesday. If South Carolina beats Clemson and they're 9-3 and they're on a 6-game winning streak, look at the 6 teams they beat at the end of the year. I'm just and if Clemson wins, they're 10-2. I think that may turn it because of what happened to Alabama and Ole Miss. I think that game could turn into a play-in game for the last team that gets in. It's not out of question.
Yeah, pretty sweet. All right, KD 35. I'm the best. Says Texas has the chance to keep tradition going. Aggies 8-4. That's the tradition you like to keep going, no doubt. Thank you for that. Isabella Lyric says, how does OU win affects the Fasusi flip? Yeah, let's get some recruiting talk in here, gentlemen.
Yeah.
We'll back to some Texas talk. What are your thoughts here, Jerry, about how the Texas win could affect the Fasusi commitment?
Yeah, I don't think an Oklahoma win over Alabama it changed anything for Michael Fasusi. He's going to be at Texas A&M this weekend, scheduled to be at A&M this weekend. He can go to OU if they want, and nobody be there. They're at LSU, so he'll be at A&M. He made the Texas visit with his dad and sister. By the way, I've heard some really positive things from 2 sources this afternoon on the visit. But I'm not sitting here saying Michael Fasusi is going to flip the Texas or anything. I think Texas is in it. I think A&M's in it. And I think Oklahoma's still in it, but I do think a win over Alabama doesn't change the one thing, the couple of things that Michael Fasusi's looking at. Who's going to be the OC? Who's going to be the offensive line coach? And will those things be in place on December 4th? And do you run the risk of going there? And if Brent Venables has a 6-6 or 7-5 season next year, because the schedule just flips, it doesn't get any easier. Is he back? I mean, and I hate to say, I'm not sitting here saying Brent Venables should be fired or anything, but I'm saying he's sitting here saying what the kid's looking at. There's some uncertainty there for that kid in his recruitment. He has to take a look and reevaluate these things right now. And I've heard it went very well at Texas. I heard it was a much better, more successful visit than his June official visit. For whatever reason, his June official visit didn't rank high. It ranked behind Oklahoma, behind A&M as far as the official visits go. I heard he had a really good visit yesterday and had some really good conversations with Kyle Flood and people around the program.
Jerry, I'm sorry, Rod.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
This is his senior film we're watching right now. He's finishing blocks as a senior, Jerry. He finished much better finisher as a senior.
He's got a ton of upside. He is a huge upside player that has only been playing football for I believe, his 4th year now. So, I mean, he's a very young football player, but he has got all the gifts. He's got all the athletic gifts and the frame gifts.
Well, just 4 years of football. Why did he start so late?
Moved to the States.
Okay. Yep. All right. Good stuff there. A couple of folks here. Casey wants to know. And also, I see Champ Bailey 3 wants to know, Jerry, what happened with Cade Phillips? I might have missed. Yeah, I want to know what happened with Cade Phillips too.
You know what? I don't have the answer of what happened. I just know the end result was he didn't make it in, and things changed within a couple hours of when he was supposed to leave. I don't know the details on that, but the visit was canceled.
I want to say this real quick. As LSU fans against Vandy chanting "Fire Brian Kelly," in the middle of the game. I'm sure they would have loved to have had recruits hear that.
Yeah,
fire Brian Kelly in the middle of the game. As it relates to Brent Venables and his job security, by the way, you think he can handle another 6-6 year?
No. Daniel Earp asked, did Jamie French make it to campus? He did, and I think things are solid there. Quentin has a good question we can all chime in on. Does playing football before high school really matter for a player's development? I mean, look, if you're an offensive lineman, I think football in general, the more you play, the better you are. I mean, it's like anything else, right? I mean, so you're developing – offensive line, there's a lot that goes with it from a technique perspective, and it's maybe the most important communication position on football field. Rod, Bobby, what are y'all's thoughts on it? I think the more you play, the better you are. So, look, he's been playing 4 years. Joseph Mbaktu's just started playing this year. So, does it matter? I think it does matter.
Yep, I think it definitely matters. In terms of a player's overall upside, you may determine somebody has more upside because they haven't played the game that long, and yet they're at a certain level of play. So you may determine, they've only played the game for 3 years, but look at the strides they've made in 3 years. What if they played for 5 more years, and then we could kind of project what kind of player they're going to be. There's no doubt. The more I played 2 years before I got to high school. I started playing in 7th grade, 8th grade. There's no doubt the more I played the game, the better I got at the game. I didn't get my first scholarship offer until I was a senior in high school. I think because by that point, it kind of all of the light came on for me. So the 10,000 hour rule, if you will, right? Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hours. The more time you spend trying to perfect something, the more time you spend trying to cultivate a skill or a craft, you'll get better at it. There's just no doubt. So yes, I think the planning for, even if you play flag football, you ain't even got to play tackle, just learning the subtle nuance of the game, the understanding of the game, leverage, technique, fundamentals, all those little things, eye discipline, just learning stuff like that before you get into the actual tackle game and tackle element of football with the pads on still can help you tremendously.
I want to say this. I think it matters at 2 positions. Rod, you played one of them. Defensive back. Being able to identify things is huge. Guess where else you have to identify things? Quarterback. Those are the 2 positions I actually think it matters the most. Everywhere else, I mean, maybe middle linebacker.
Instinctive position. Yeah.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? I'm a little bit different than you guys. You guys are both saying yes. I'm not saying don't have your kids play football. That's not. I just want y'all to. I can see. I think it would be rare. Rare is the day where I hear a guy didn't start playing quarterback until 9th grade or 10th grade. I don't know that I've ever heard that, actually. I've heard of a couple of DBs that have, but also Dominic Rogers-Cromartie or whatever, ran a 4.3. There are guys like that can make up that time, right? I feel like the only position I would say absolutely has to is quarterback, because I can't think of a guy in the NFL or that was a good college quarterback that didn't play quarterback before ninth grade. Y'all, I mean, seriously.
It's a good point.
And if somebody in the chat, I mean, we may not be able to think of it. If somebody in the chat can think of one, let us know.
Yeah, I mean, look, quarterback and point guards aren't made necessarily. It's in a short period of time. It takes years.
Yeah.
You know when I can think of randomly, and I don't remember his high school. You guys probably remember his high school resume. Ryan Tannehill.
He played quarterback in high school.
Did he play quarterback in high school?
Okay. He played wide receiver.
And he played for his dad.
Yeah.
His dad was high school coach.
There you go. Okay. Yeah.
And by the way, there's been some guys that played receiver early on in high school, maybe because they had a D1 quarterback ahead of them, but they played quarterback like a Hudson Card. Played more wide receiver early on in high school than quarterback.
Yeah.
He had played quarterback in middle school.
Yeah.
So there's been some instances of that, but not just. I mean, I'm just trying. Option quarterbacks, old school. That doesn't. We're not talking about that. We're talking about
modern quarterbacks. Yeah.
Oh,
it's a good point, Bobby. I never thought about that. It's good stuff. All right, getting back to super chats. Got a couple of more here. Francisco, thank you for the super chat. Says Jerry has been saying Texas versus A&M game would be a high stakes game since the schedule came out. He's spoken into existence. Anyway, do y'all think the ratings past the Georgia game? Ooh, that's a great question.
I think if A&M had won Saturday, they had a chance.
Yep, I would say I don't know if it does now because A&M's going to be ranked 20 or something. I don't know.
Right, because if A&M had won last night with
top 10.
Ole Miss and Alabama losing and BYU and other people losing, they were going to vault up
top 10.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And now you got a top 5 versus a top 20 team.
So Georgia, Texas drew 13.9. What could Texas draw just in Texas alone, Bobby?
That's what I've said. I don't know. I've written this. I don't know what it's going to draw nationally. I don't have a good feel for that. You know, what is Texas A&M draw outside the state of Texas on a holiday weekend, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I think it will be the most watched college football game ever, regular season ever in the state of Texas.
I could see it.
So, from people in the states, inside the state boundary, it will be the highest game ever. Now, that doesn't include playing for a national championship when every household is watching, you know what I mean? Like Texas did in the Rose Bowl. But a regular season game, I think it's going to go at prime time. By the way, how many times was Texas versus Texas A&M prime time?
Not very often.
Well,
it was prime time, but it would be on a Thursday night, or it would be relegated to ESPN2. Rod, the game you called, or were on the sideline for, that wasn't a ABC broadcast, was it? That was I think that was an ESPN, because
probably right.
They were saying Jesse Palmer had the call. He wasn't calling national ABC games back then.
Hey, here's why it could approach the Georgia numbers. Michigan, Ohio State's 11 a.m. Okay. Clemson, South Carolina, 11 a.m. Notre Dame, USC, 2:30 p.m. Auburn, Alabama, 2:30 p.m. Miami's 2:30. They don't have any competition at night. Washington and Oregon out west isn't competition. That game may be the only show in town at that point.
True. It's got to be good, though, too, because people will tune out. If Texas blowing them out, it won't get the big ratings. It's got to be a competitive game, and people tune into it, kind of build to a crescendo. But, no, I agree. It's got a shot to be a monster.
Our producer, Matt, just wrote us a text, by the way. Remember, the Florida State barn burner is at the same time.
Yes.
Y'all are burning barns at old Mike Norvell's house.
Yes.
It's in Tallahassee. Y'all, yeah. Charleston Southern didn't take care of business for you. You scored 41 on Charleston Southern. There you go.
The question is, were more people in Florida watch A&M Texas than Florida State?
Ooh. Yeah.
No way. Really? No.
Dude, I'm telling you, Florida State fans are tuned out.
Wow.
Tuned out. Oh my God. Dude, they're 2-9.
Yeah.
This is the first time they scored more than 20 points in a game. and it was against Charleston Southern.
Yeah, at least Florida's got some hope with DJ Lagway coming in.
Oh, he's a good player.
They believe when he plays. They're a different team when he plays.
That's exactly right. They believe.
Yep. Jose, thank you for the super chat. Said, Jerry, does the mom not visiting with Fasusi give you some concern? Another site has claimed the mom isn't fond of Texas and wants OU or A&M.
Well, I had said that, and I think I said it first a couple of weeks ago when all this stuff started to happen. I was reporting on TexasFootball.com about it, that, look, the small town college, more of the small town college versus the big city, may be something there. Here's your telling sign. If she shows up in College Station this weekend, that may be your sign.
Good stuff. All right.
I would also say this. I mean, look, College Station and Norman are not small college towns anymore.
Well, versus a big city.
Okay. I mean, but y'all, you know what I mean? I mean, College Station used to be a small college town. It's actually grown in the last 25, 30 years, 50 years even. And Norman is a suburb of friggin' Oklahoma City. So, my take on that is that small college town is, I think of, I don't even know what I think of when I think of that. Nacogdoches is a small college town at some level.
Oh.
Yeah.
I drive through Nacogdoches. Never stop. One here for the super chat. JT Sanders was released from the hospital and has a field in all his extremities. Yeah, I did see that report. Thank you for that. Really appreciate that update there, Juan. Yes, it did say, I got this from the Panthers website from a couple of hours ago. It says Carolina Panthers rookie tight end has been released from the hospital, continues to undergo further evaluation for a neck injury. But the news was good after he was carted off the field on a backboard and taken to the Atrium Health Carolinas Medical Center. He was discharged from the hospital, so that's really good news. Dave Canales, the head coach, says he doesn't want to make any definitive comments about that, but certainly a positive sign that he's coming back here to the facility right now. So that was the last update, that at least he's back and released from the hospital, discharged, is going to monitor him. I'm sure he'll be in concussion protocol and, probably be out for a while. Hopefully he can rejoin the team when everything is okay. So thank you for that super chat. We appreciate it. Quentin says, I played with Brandon Wheaton. Gym teacher convinced him to play junior year. Go Wolves. One of those rare exceptions.
There we go. Well, he was also a baseball player, right? Big time baseball player.
Yep, you're right. Yep. He was old too when he got drafted. What, he like 27 or something like that?
Yeah, he went back.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Hey, that's a good one though. Good job, Quentin. That's exactly. Oh, but see, that's an oddity though.
It is. Outlier.
That's not. I mean, that's after you go play pro baseball for 4 years. Yeah. But it meets the qualifications of what we were talking about.
Yep.
Jesse says, what is the current confidence level in Burt if it comes down to a Tucker-like kick to win? Are we more aggressive due to Burt's inconsistency? That is a great question, Jesse. That is. What are you guys' thoughts about it? Burt Auburn was money last year. This year, not so much.
I have a different thought on that. I think Sark is aggressive anyways, but I think it's harder to stay in rhythm when you're kicking less than half as many as you were last year. And I mean, where Burt Auburn's 9-13. Okay. And he's missed a couple of 48, 49 yarders mixed in there. But he's not having a bad season. Auburn kickers are having a bad season. Okay, but I think he's kicking less than half as many field goals he did this time last year.
Fair.
Hey, I got to share this. I have some friends that went to Auburn. I got a text last night when they were lining up for the field goal in overtime. Second overtime, Auburn was forced to kick a field goal. My friend before the field goal said, "We're effed."
Yeah.
Literally lining up for the field goal.
Their stud kicker has been out injured. And the kid that was kicking for them last night, at Birmingham Southern. They closed down football, so he just was attending Auburn.
They closed down the college.
They closed down the college. Sorry, yeah. And so the kid was just attending school at Auburn, and they were looking for kickers. They pulled the guy out of the classroom essentially because he had college kicking experience.
Oh, you can close down a college like that and just See, people,
The whole college is one of the
That's
few
right.
colleges nationwide that's been shut down.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
Bad accountants. They certainly
Man.
didn't have accountants with Texas degrees.
That's
Put it that way.
terrible. I didn't know that. Football programs I've heard of, entire colleges, that's a little different. Tom G with a super chat. Thank you, Tom. Says with Texas at OSU first game of the season next year, why not get Art some playing time at a hostile environment if Quinn is only 75%? All right. What you guys' thoughts? If Quinn is only 75%, is Arch a better option, basically?
Did you think Quinn was 75% on Saturday?
No. I thought he was like 40. I thought he was like 40, 55%.
Yeah.
I don't even think he was.
That's your
I don't
answer.
think he was 25. No.
Well, but my point is that's your answer. Now, why wouldn't you do it? I mean, I think throwing I just don't think you throw people to the dogs, man. No. And if you think, unless you have a real plan with Arch Manning that you think can win the game, you don't do that. Now, maybe he has to do it because Quinn's injured. That's a different story. And if you think you're in the playoffs, I don't even want to think of that right now. I want Quinn to be healthy. I want this to be an epic game, period. But I see what you're trying to get at, Tom. I just don't know. I know why I wouldn't do it. And the reason why is I don't think it's you dance with the one who brung you.
There you go.
That's the idea for me.
Yep, Sark's a quarterback too. Don't forget that. So it's sentimental. Sark, I think he puts himself in the quarterback shoes a lot of time, which is why quarterbacks love him. By the way, that's why he can recruit quarterbacks so well. I think that's part of it. All right, thank our friends over at Rogue Shop. I know we're getting closer to the end of the live stream. We'll take a few more questions before we end things tonight. But go check out RogueShop.com, folks. That's RogueShop.com. You see it right there. Bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. Rogue Shop ships nationwide, so no matter where you are in the Owen, Texas football community, they can get their fantastic products right to you any day. Just check them out at RogueShop.com. Make sure you use the promo code on Texas. You'll get a very special discount from our friends over at Rogue Shop. They have it all from oils and creams to flour and gummies. That's RogueShop.com. Use the code on Texas and you'll get a very special discount there from our friends, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. That's RogueShop.com. And thank you guys very much for sponsoring our Sunday night live stream. Woo! I'm assuming that's what it is. It is woo or whoa. I'm a good as woo. I'm going with the Ric Flair woo. Would you say, guys, Texas is a playoff lock, win or lose against A&M? Hook 'em. I think we got into it, guys, earlier.
Right? The only way they wouldn't be with a loss is if it was 50-0 or something where it's just terrible, ugly, and it's just like oof. But that's not going to happen. So,
or if Quinn, then in that case, if that happens, Quinn's hurt.
Yeah.
And that's can he get healthy in 3 weeks when they play next? The playoff committee will take that into consideration. Let's do us this. All right, all three of us are, I don't know if sentimental is the right word or biased is the right word towards Texas, but our producer is not. He's a Florida State fan. Okay, so that's why we give him so much difficulty. Let's ask Matthew a question, and you just tell us: is Texas a shoe-in for the college football playoff? Matthew, he says 2 thumbs up. I guess he's saying Gigamax. Yeah,
I know. No, please don't do it. Don't do that.
So I do think. I think they are in, and then I think that they should be.
Yeah, I do too.
Yep. I've been saying for weeks, even if the committee had to do it, they justify trying to get Texas in. They want Texas. They want the sexy narrative of Quinn and Arch and all that. They want Texas in the playoff.
And they're hoping like hell Notre Dame beats USC too.
Yep, exactly. It's still a TV product. They still want the most compelling TV characters. And Texas is a really compelling TV character. On top of all, they should be in just like FSU should have been in last year, Matthew. All right, there you go. You know what? I don't agree, but to that point though, why didn't they let FSU in? Because they weren't going to be a very compelling character in the TV show.
Yeah,
they were going to
not with what they were doing at quarterback. Yeah,
exactly. They were going to be a dud. Why is Texas going to get in? Because Texas got 2 quarterbacks.
So I think it's a 2. I want to add this. So right now there are 4 teams that are truly vying for these spots, these playoff spots: Texas, Texas A&M, Georgia, and Tennessee. So I think Georgia has a better resume. If Texas were to lose to A&M, then I think Georgia has a better resume than Texas. Georgia has a direct win over Texas. They also beat a Clemson team that's pretty good. They beat a Tennessee team. I mean, all that. Outside of that, A&M, obviously, if they beat Texas head-to-head, I get it. Fair game, right? Now, they have to go and beat Georgia, I think, in the SEC championship because they've got 3 losses.
Yeah.
But I want to add this. If it comes down to Texas and Tennessee, okay, Texas and Tennessee will have played 7 of the same opponents this year. Y'all realize that?
I didn't realize
Texas score, the differential on that, Texas is favored every single game so far that those 2 teams have played.
Yeah.
They played OU. Texas beat OU. They played Florida. Florida took them to overtime. They played Arkansas. Texas beat Arkansas. They lost to Arkansas. They played Vandy this weekend. So that's the last one left on their schedule. But my point to that is, I think Texas has a better resume right now. Texas is the only school in the SEC that has 5 wins against bowl eligible teams right now. Tennessee only has 3. Georgia only has 4. Now, if they beat Georgia Tech, that'll be 5 for them. You know, A&M has 4. If they beat Texas, they'll have 5. Bama has 4. Auburn's not going to be a bowl team. Ole Miss has 4. They're not. Mississippi State is their last game. They're not going to be a bowl team. So, just putting that out there for folks.
Yep. No, it's good stuff. I didn't realize they had played so many teams.
Well, I think, and we'd have to look at it, but I think Texas has 7 teams on their schedule or 8 that are bowl eligible right now. I'm gonna have to look. Colorado State, UL Monroe. I mean, if Oklahoma wins at LSU, I mean, they could end up playing 8 or 9 bowl eligible teams on their whole schedule as a whole.
That'd be impressive.
I wanted to ask Josh Roberts' question because he'd asked it a couple of times. How many highs are out there? There's 3, but only 2 could sign on December 4th.
Okay,
that's a little hint, by the way.
Y'all see, there you go. See, Jerry's dropping them for you, folks. You got to pick them up. All right, J.E., thank you for the super chat, J.E. Really appreciate it. Says, I grew up with Dr. Brett Robin. His dad and my dad worked in the same medical complex here in Austin. In fact, his dad set my arm when I broke it as a kid. Would love to see him on the show this week. All right, we got to get Brett on the show. He can talk about Texas A&M. He can talk about it. My former teammate.
I'll reach out to. That's a great idea, J.E. That's a great idea. By the way, he's one of our newer sponsors. He is now an orthopedic surgeon and doctor. Brett there at the Austin Orthopedic Institute. He does it in Austin, Killeen, and Georgetown, I believe. So all up and down Texas.
So, by the way, I guess
was he always a smart one, Rod, on the team? Was he one of the smart ones on the team?
Yes, he was always one of them dudes. Yeah, he was that guy. Brett was he was one of them dudes. Yep, I remember it. And Brett was also just a great guy, great human being. But yeah, you can trust. He's one of the football players I would trust seeing him as a doctor. There's some of my teammates, if they told me they was doctors, I'd be like, where did you get your degree? Where did you get you a degree? Like, no, I'm not going to you. Brett, I will trust him. I will go see him about my shoulder, as a matter of fact.
Hey, Brett, we need to get him on this week, Bobby, because remember when we had him on earlier, he told the story about playing at A&M, and he's lined up next to Chris Sims, and he couldn't hear him, and he was 4 feet away from him, 4 or 5 feet away from him. He'd be great. I think Jackson Jeffcoat may come on with us this week as well. I ran into him before the game Saturday, and obviously I think he played in the 2012 game.
Oh, I like that. That's a nice one.
He played in the last one, so we're going to work on getting Jackson on this week as well. There was one in here that I guess Oklahoma is bowl eligible. I guess they are. One of their wins is FCS, but I guess nowadays it counts.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
I guess now it counts. All right, Francisco in the super chat. Thank you, Francisco. This will be my first time watching this game live in full consciousness. If we lose against A&M, I don't know how I'm going to feel or react, but I have a feeling it's going to hurt more than Oklahoma. Ooh, would losing to A&M hurt more than losing against Oklahoma? I will say, and I said it at the start of this year, thank you, Francisco, for the super chat. The Texas A&M game this year, only this year, it's bigger than Texas A&M. It's bigger than Texas. It's bigger than Texas OU this year. Texas A&M is bigger than Texas OU this year. Usually, Texas OU is always bigger than Texas A&M, but I feel like this year it is. It has a special sentimentality to this rekindling of the rivalry.
One of the biggest problems about the Texas A&M game historically is that either team has been good, the other team's been bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
They very rarely have Texas and Texas A&M have had good teams together. Texas and OU have a lot, quite a lot. But it's late in the season, so A&M and Texas, by that time, the die is cast. Now with Jackie Sherrill later in his time at A&M, and then R.C. Slocum, a lot of that was A&M was a better team than Texas. A lot of those years ran off several wins in a row, and then with Mac Brown started a little putting it opposite, where A&M wasn't that good late in the season. You know what I mean? And so only in the, I think, early 70s, late 70s were Texas and Texas A&M both good at the same time quite often. But before then, one of the two teams wasn't very good late historically.
Yep. They've only had double-digit win seasons once in the 100-plus year history of the rivalry, and that was like 1970. 75 or 76. I'm not sure which one. It's one of those.
75,
I think
75. Yeah.
It was 75, not 76, because I was at the 76 or 77 game in College Station. I saw Earl Campbell's final regular season game.
Oh, nice.
I was a youngster.
Yeah, I like that. See, that's someone that gives Aggie nightmares. We should bring all the Aggie nightmare class. Bring them all back. Everybody that gives the Aggies all bad dreams and bad memories about that.
We need to call Bryant Westbrook.
Brian Westbrook, bring them out. The McCoys, put the McCoys out there. That was a good one, like that. Jeff Hill says, if Aggie beat Texas and lose in the championship, I don't think they make it. We did talk about that, Jeff. We agree. Aggie's got to win it all. They got to win the entire SEC championship, make it there, number one, by beating Texas, and then win it. And then we think they'll get in. All right, before we get back,
good luck winning that game in Mercedes-Benz against 65,000 Georgia fans.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. The Aggies going to go over a hell of a run. Listen, the Longhorns are going to handle business versus the Aggies. I don't want to be cocky or arrogant about it, but I feel like the Longhorns are going to be ready for that game. We'll be talking about it all week, of course. We'll be breaking it down right here on Texas Football for all of you guys. Thank all you guys for the super chat. I'm sorry we couldn't get to more of the questions tonight, but we had a lot of super chats to get to. So throw all your questions, or at least if you didn't get them answered or addressed, you can throw them at the crew for Coffee and Football tomorrow morning. That'll be at 8 a.m. Bobby will start early in the morning with Coffee and Football. You also will have the winning drive, myself, CJ Vogel tomorrow, as well as Coach Bob Shipley. That'll be for the winning drive tomorrow. We'll be talking about Sark's Monday media availabilities, Monday press conference, of course, and we'll be talking a ton about the Aggies. So thank you guys for all your participation and all of the super chats today. Can't thank you enough. Thanks to Matthew behind the scenes. Matthew is the real MVP of all of our live streams, because he does a great job making it all look professional. Thanks to our sponsor, Rogue Shop. Go check out rogueshop.com as well, and they can ship their fantastic products to you anywhere in the country. That's rogueshop.com. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks to Bobby. You are the man, Bobby. Thank you, Jerry, for all of the nuggets. We appreciate you. And thank you all you guys out there for watching and for listening. And until next time, hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em.